Hello and welcome. You are here because you are looking for some good information about note-taking strategies. And the focus of this video is all about Cornell Notes. So let's give your notes the glow up they need and let's get started. What are Cornell Notes and what's the Cornell method? So in your classes, you've probably seen friends who have used the Cornell Notes, or maybe you've seen other students and you thought to yourself, gosh, these look really nice and they look neat and organized, but I don't know how to do it. I can't do it. I don't understand how to do it. And maybe you didn't feel comfortable asking. So good for you for seeking it out and finding this video. Basically, here is what we're going to do in this video. It's an explanation of how you will create your Cornell Notes. You're going to come up with cue questions. So think of it like this. When you're cueing someone, you're signaling to them. So you're going to see how a cue question will end up signaling to you as the student what your notes are about. You're going to summarize and put information in your own words, and you're going to use your Cornell Notes to self-quiz. So we're going to go ahead with a little practice activity, and this will all make sense. You're going to see I have multiple handouts that I use in this video, and those are all accessible to you in a link below. All right, so basically this is how you set up your page, and the next slide has an image of that. So you're going to have basically a big rectangle, and on the right side, you're going to have a wider column, and that's where your notes are going to go. So that is the notes column. You're going to write down main ideas, facts, and details. Then you have what's called the cue column, and that one's going to be skinnier, and that's on the left. And this is where you end up writing down questions or keywords that match your notes. And again, you'll see this more on the next page so that you have that visual representation. And then finally at the bottom, you're going to summarize. So you're going to summarize the content. Okay, so ultimately this is what it's going to look like. So we're going to start here and we'll go back and forth between the two documents. So just a reminder, because some people do this and some people don't, but always include the course name. Are you in U.S. history? Are you in anatomy? Are you in health? Are you in biology? Whatever the case may be, write down the course name, write down the date, and then your class period. And then write down your topic, right? Is your topic chapter 5 of The Great Gatsby? Is your topic the first 5 pages of the story of The Most Dangerous Game? Is it chapter 4 in your bio book? Whatever it is, identify your topic. All right, over here you can see that we have the notes column, and then over here on the left is the cue column, right? So in our notes, that's where you put your main lecture notes. Now, you might not be in class though. You might be reading your textbook at home. So when I say lecture notes, that would also include whatever you're reading, right? That's the material being presented to you. And then concise phrases. That does not mean copy word for word. That means you take the information and you make it succinct. So you're summarizing, you're making it succinct and clear to you. You can use short little symbols. So if you're talking about the increased deficit, instead of writing out the word increased, you can do an arrow that's pointing up, right? Instead of writing the word and, you can use the and symbol. What I always did, if I was writing about something and it had a negative impact, I would do an unhappy face. So you come up with whatever symbols work for you. Abbreviations. I never wrote out the word because. I would write BCZ. And then, of course, you can use a list. And you do this during class or, when you're reading, when you're first being introduced to the content. And on this handout, it tells you the same thing. So it tells you what you're doing in the notes column, right? Main ideas, facts and details, and then the cue column. So later, you'll write questions or keywords that match your notes. So let's take a look, okay? Main ideas, questions that connect. You can also do diagrams in this column, and then a study prompt, right? So create something for yourself. What would be a good question for you to ask to help you study these notes later? And you would do that after class, when you're reviewing, whatever the case may be. So you take notes in class, and if you have time, awesome, do the Q column in class. But if not, that is what you do at home, and that's a way to help you dig deeper and review the notes that you took in class. And so if you need a reminder about that, that is included right here in the description of Q notes. So after you take notes, go back, turn them into questions. So for example, if your note says, the Nile River was important to ancient Egypt for farming, your Q question could be, why was the Nile River important to ancient Egypt? Right? So if that was your question, and on the right you have the answer, oh, okay. Your Q question identifies what the topic is. Your notes section provides the information to answer it. And then finally, the bottom of your page, you're going to summarize. You're going to explain the main idea in 3 to 4 sentences. And again, don't just copy it. Say it how you would explain it to a friend. And so that's down here in the summary section. And again, when we know that we actually know something and we can say it in our own words, then we're confident that we're not going to lose that information, right? It's with us. It's part of us. We know it now. Okay, so now let's look at some more examples on the next 2 pages. Okay, so now I have one with an example. And so for this example, we're going to use Rosa Parks. So let's take a look. Over here in my notes section, 1955, Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat. Sparked Montgomery bus boycott, lasted over a year, led by Martin Luther King Jr. And you could even do led by MLK Jr., right? Notice, doesn't have to be a complete sentence, and you're doing that during class or if you're, reading the text on your own. And then the Q column, who was Rosa Parks? So that's the Q to this answer. She was the woman who refused to give up her seat in 1955. Over here, Q question. What event started the boycott? Oh, this one did. When Rosa did that, that sparked the Montgomery bus boycott. Who was the leader? Okay, led by Martin Luther King Jr. What was the outcome? Sorry. So that is how you use the Q column. So let's go over here. So you have your information, you have your notes on your right side, your left side is where you ask the questions, and then you do a summary, right? Summary on the bottom. So here we go. Rosa Parks' actions in 1955 led to the Montgomery bus boycott. With MLK Jr.'s leadership, the protest lasted over a year and ended with the Supreme Court, or when the Supreme Court ruled bus segregation illegal. And so that is 1 page of notes, Q column, summary. Okay, so you're going to see a handout, and in that handout, you just see really detailed information. It's a good reminder of what to do. And so that is a nice handout for you. Again, explaining the summary section as well. Do a self-quiz at the end or at home during your review and study session. Cover up your notes, and then try and look at only the questions on the left-hand side. So if you're just looking at your Q questions and you can answer them, boom, you have just created a built-in quiz. And if you can answer them, congrats, you know the material. So I also give you on this handout some shorthand symbols. So you can hit pause and look at these in a little more detail, or you can just look at the handout. So, you could do an arrow to the right leads to or causes, an arrow up increase, down decrease, W/with, BC because, or like I said earlier, BCC, BCZ. So yeah, those are some ideas for you as well. And then over here, this is a big one. My students always say, wait, so I don't have to write and complete sentences? No, you don't. And you shouldn't in any of your classes, right? The goal is for you to take the information and put it in your own ideas. And then final review, step by step. That is in one of the documents as well. And you also have a template so that if you want to just take that and photocopy it and use it for any and all of your classes, you can do that. But you can just as easily take out a lined piece of paper in class and a ruler and create this. And so that is the Cornell method. And so I hope your notes got a good glow up and that you find this to be successful and helpful. Thanks and have a great day of learning.